this video I'm going to talk about incrementing and decrementing, and basically they're very commonly used when we're trying to keep track of how many times that we've run something, or counting our loops or things like that. So what I'm going to do here is take a moment to set up an integer variable. I'm going to go int a equals 5. We're just going to set a equal to 5. Now I know that that's really basic, but there's some different ways that people can change what a is. Of course, on this line we can go a equals 6. Let's just say, oh, I suddenly made a equals 6, and it's not real exciting, but later on I need to make it 7, or I want to increment it. I want it to go up by 1. That's really what incrementing means, go up by 1. Another way to do it would be to say that you can go a equals a plus 1, which would be hey, take what it was and add 1 to it. That's another way technically to increment. So when I output that a, I'm getting a 6 down here, and so that's another way to do it. But a more common way to do it is actually, or I should say another way to do it is to actually do incrementing. Incrementing is where we would actually just add 1 to it right away, and the way you do it is you just do plus plus. So when you do the double plus on a variable, it means that you add 1 to it. However, it's very important that you realize what's happening here. See, when I output the a plus plus, I only get a 5. So it really hasn't done anything yet. I'm going to prove my point here by outputting a again. So I'm really here, I say a is 5. Now output a, add 1 to it, and then output a. And this will kind of prove my point. Okay, it has changed. It actually did change in memory. But the plus plus means change a after you use it. So this line of output right here actually prints the a and then adds 1 to it after it prints it. Now if I actually wanted it to print 6, I could do the plus plus before the a, which says add 1 to the a and then print it. So now actually when I run this, I will get 2 6s as my output. It's very important to realize the plus plus means add 1 to the variable, and where you put it determines when it adds the 1. So that's something that's actually quite important. Now that's incrementing. Incrementing is when you use the plus plus to add 1. Maybe I'll make a note here that incrementing plus plus adds 1, keeping in mind that where you add it does matter. Now you might be able to guess what decrementing is going to be then, since you've caught on hopefully to this pattern here. Is the decrementing is going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be minus minus, and what that's going to do is it's going to subtract 1. And so if I were to change my output here to a minus minus, and then I'm going to print a here, if you have the pattern down for incrementing, you should understand what's going to happen with this set of code. You're going to have a is 5, it's going to print 5, and then it's going to subtract 1, which is 4, and then it's going to output the 4. So I should get an output of a 5 4 here. Of course, as I did with the incrementing example, if I were to change the location of the minus minus and run this thing, you should understand that the output is going to be the integer is 5, and then it subtracts 1, makes it 4. A is now 4. Printed, it's 4. And then printed here, it's 4. So incrementing and decrementing are basically how you add 1 and how you subtract 1 to different variables. So that is going to become very, very important when you get deeper into Java programming, especially as we start to add loops into programs and we have our classes run a certain number of times. Because especially incrementing is used to track how many times you've done something a lot. It's like a counter, like I've done it once, Go do it again. I've done it twice. Go do it again. I've done it 3 times. You just add 1 every time you do it so that you can keep track of how many times you've performed some action. So that's just your very basics on incrementing and decrementing.